T-minus 10.
All aboard!
You know what a job is? That when people get up in the morning and they go to work.
This is Scope of Success, where we bring you business life lessons and throw a lifeline to your career. And now, Brian and James.
Welcome back. Big Apple Scrum Day. We are right in the middle of things and loving it. I'm Brian.
The heart of it all.
The
Hey,
heart
Brian.
of it all. Hey, how you enjoying it?
I'm loving it, man. What's not to love? Big Apple Scrum Day. We're talking to some really interesting people,
Amazing.
learning
Yeah.
a lot.
Learning a lot.
We're
That's a big
both
part of it.
in the business, as
Yes.
it were. So it's an opportunity to do what we love, and also to learn about better ways to do what we love. So
Absolutely.
that's what's better than that.
So we're talking to Kalpesh. How you doing? Did I get the name right?
Yeah, you got
oh,
it. You
thank
got
you.
it. Yeah.
Oh.
Kalpesh
I was
Shah.
nervous-
That's
I was
two in a
nervous
row.
about it. Yeah.
That is two in
I
a
was-
row that we got.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank
How
you,
are
guys.
you enjoying Big Apple Scrum Day?
Oh, I'm loving it. This is my second year in a row. I was here last year giving a talk on outcome over output. Don't be a backlog lumberjack.
Okay.
Which resonates a lot with what Jeff Patton was saying today in the morning as a part of his keynote. And I'm back here again this year. They were very nice enough to call me back again. And I'm talking about stand-up poker, how we hacked the daily stand-up and our team's mindset.
Wow.
But
I love everything that Kalpesh has said so far.
Everything he said so far has
My
been gold.
favorite thing
What's that?
is backlog lumberjack, because I
My
think
favorite.
that,
My favorite thing was that I pronounced his name right when he said yes to
well,
that.
yes, I
That
think
made
we
me
all
happy.
appreciate that. But the backlog lumberjack, can't you just see like some of our colleagues with the plaid shirt and the beard,
Yeah.
you know, and the blue jeans? I mean, they look like lumberjacks anyway. They're backlog lumberjacks.
Yes, that is very.
What
good.
is a backlog
Whoa,
lumberjack?
whoa! Before we
Oh,
get
we
into
can't
that,
get
wait,
into
before
that?
we get into that, I want to ask you what because we are well into Big Apple Scrum Day.
Yeah.
I want to ask what you think the word out on the street is. What's the vibe?
I
What-
think the vibe is I think Jeff Patton kind of set the stone for the set the tone for the day, and that was it's about outcome and not about output, right? It's not about the process. It's about value, right?
What you make
okay.
and what it's worth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's
Yep.
not end justifies the means, though, right?
Exactly.
Right?
Well,
Right.
I'm not sure about that, actually. We need to get Jeff back on to ask him about that. I
Yeah.
think he might say that the end does justify the means.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
the
that's-
end being profit for the business or positive reception of your ideas, which is going to be money.
So on the same note, right? So one of the talks that I also give, it's called Measuring Customer Success. I paid you for my problem, not for your future, right? and I think that's what it is. I think there's a distinction, or I think there's a distinction between product success and customer success, right? And even as we're kind of building these products out, right, and you're looking at metrics like adoption, engagement, I think one of the areas we also should be looking at is how is the customer getting better at what they're trying to do as they're using your product, right?
Right.
Look, your customers are not there to become a subject matter expert. They don't want to be an expert in using your product. They want to be an expert in doing their job.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So how are we doing that better? Right.
Right.
It's not the focus. Of course, it is to make a product better. But the bigger focus over here is how do we make our customers more awesome?
Right.
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 I like that, making the
yeah.
customer awesome. Tell us a little bit. So last year it was how to not be a backlog lumberjack, and I guess we're not going to talk about that because Brian just cut me off from it. But
No, I wanted to get into the vibe of the Scrum.
well,
Scrum
that's
Day.
true. That's
Yeah.
true. And I have to be fair. There's not a lot of lumberjacks, so maybe I'm a little behind in my fashion. So
You're not
maybe-
as fashion forward as you thought you were.
I didn't think I was fashion forward at all. But tell us a little
You're
bit about
fashion
what
neutral.
what were you speaking about today, and can you walk us through some of the high points of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the topic that I'm talking about is it's stand-up poker, how we hacked our team's daily stand-up,
Love it.
and the team's mindset.
So
And that-
Brian does a daily stand-up. I know I
Yes.
do stand-ups as well. We don't have a lot of daily stand-ups, but the concept is basically that you're with the team
Yep.
each morning. You talk about what it is that the team's working on, if you
Working
have
on.
any impediments, and how you're gonna work through that, right?
What
Right.
you've done, what you're doing, and if there's any roadblocks.
Yeah,
And it's blocked for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah, time
and and I'm a consultant. I'm a coach. I get to work with many teams, many different clients. I've been lucky enough to actually go and meet and work with teams in 4 different continents. Right. So
why not 5?
I haven't.
Which one have you missed?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Come on, man.
Yeah, which one? What's the one that you're not on?
I have missed Africa.
Oh, well, okay.
Yes,
Africa.
so
but
I haven't made it
yeah.
there yet.
How many continents are there?
7.
Is it 7?
Seven,
Okay.
seven,
So
yeah.
well, you're getting there, man.
I'll get
Yeah.
there. I'll
You're
get
getting
there. But I did present the technique in Scrum Gathering, Cape Town, South Africa.
Oh,
So
okay.
the technique has been presented.
That's Africa.
Yeah.
That's
What are you
Africa.
talking about? You're selling
It's
yourself
about
short
working
there.
with the
Right.
teams, right? And going.
And there was that time he went to Antarctica. I mean, I think he's holding out on
Right?
us.
Is that you know who could use some Scrum is probably Santa Claus. You know, if you
Santa
go
Claus.
up to
That's
the,
true. Yeah, there's a lot of
You know,
a lot of process
Scrumming-
going
Scrumming
on.
with
but
the
I think
elves.
he's pretty
Yeah.
waterfall because it's just all
Yeah.
straight up.
Right.
I don't know.
Christmas
you know?
Eve,
No, I don't. I think probably you got to probably be pretty agile with that. You know,
I
if-
don't know. I don't know if he's iterating and testing in between and sending some gifts out here
I
and
don't
there.
know.
It's a full time. It's a full year job. Yeah, you just see
definitely
the
is.
action at the end of the year.
I
of
think
course.
he has his iteration. His sprints are yearly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Aren't bi-weekly.
So you're hacking the daily stand-up. What's that all
Right.
about?
So,
So
you know,
where'd that come up? Where did you come up with the idea?
So that's again. So I'll get to it. So I saw many of these teams, and I saw many of their stand-ups, and as you kind of called out, like what you're working on yesterday, what are you working on today, and do we have any impediments or not, right? And I literally, as I saw teams doing that had turned into a zombie status update meeting. Teams just come in, just blurting stuff out, and can't wait to go back to their desk.
Right.
Right? It was like, okay, fine. You want me to say stuff. I'm going to come here. I wrote a bunch of code yesterday. I'm going to write a bunch of code today. No impediments. Right?
Yeah.
And it just kind of kept happening again and again and again. And funny enough, you mentioned 15 minutes as well. I actually saw Scrum Masters having that little timer or they're saying, okay,
Right.
15 minutes, right? I mean, and it was basically who can blurt out stuff the fastest.
It's the
Yeah.
box.
Right.
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 Yeah.
And many of the agile maturity assessments that I saw many of the organizations having, it was like one of the criteria is like, are your stand-ups finishing in 15 minutes? So these guys really took it. I'm like, it's the fastest. I mean, they think like we are so agile that our stand-ups are done in 7 minutes.
Right.
We don't even
Yeah.
take 50. I'm like,
Right.
that's not a measure of agility.
Yeah, it's not literally a sprint.
Yeah,
You're not
it's
running.
not.
I think it
You
should
know.
be.
And
I think everybody should have one of those walking desks and
Right.
let them code and run at the same time.
Put it out all in the parking lot.
you
Get
should
some
talk
extra
it out.
room there.
Right.
You should run an MVP on that and see what that
That's actually
happens.
that's
I
actually
think-
not the worst idea he's
Yeah.
had today.
That's how I get paid the big bucks.
And I was in one of these brain-numbing zombie status updates, daily stand-ups, and they were kind of getting done, and they're like, oh, we're so agile, we're done in 8 minutes, and we can't wait to get out of here. And then I just basically said, well, stop for a minute, right, guys, and I have a question for you guys, right? So if I asked you on a scale of 1 to 5 or 0 to 5, how confident you are that you will meet your team, you'll meet your sprint's goal, right? 0 being I have no faith whatsoever. 5 being will be done in time for happy hour,
Right.
right? Something very awkward happened, right? And they started looking at each other, and the scrum master of the team quickly realized what just happened, and he's just like, wait. This is not one of the standard questions that you're supposed to
Yeah,
ask,
right,
right?
right.
By the power vested in me by the certification of CSM, right? I had told you that it is
And
not.
the Agile
right?
Manifesto.
Yes, this is not one of the questions, and I said, don't worry, don't get scared. The Scrum Police won't come and arrest you.
Right.
I'm friends with the Scrum Police.
Right.
And if they come, I'll tackle them. Don't worry about it. So kind of looked around. So I think the Scrum Master was smart. He quickly realized what was going on, right? And the team kind of looked at each other and said, "We have no idea what our sprint goal is."
Wow.
Right.
So they're basically
Yeah.
they're coming into the
Yeah.
stand up and they're talking about what they did yesterday and then they're going to talk about what they're going to do today, but no purpose as to where that sprint was
what
going.
What are we sprinting towards, you
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah.
Right?
I like it.
And
Wow.
backlog lumberjacks is
Right.
basically put task here, chop next. Put
Did you come
task
up with?
here, chop.
Did you come up with this?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
backlog lumberjack is alone. I think there ought to be something there. A book. I think you
Yeah.
should get a book out
Actually,
of that.
so as you mentioned that I'm in the works on writing a book on the same topic.
That's great.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
So there's a shameless plug for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll
Oh,
have
you
you
don't-
back on. We're gonna
Yeah,
have
you
back
don't
on.
you don't have to convince me. I'm buying any book
Yeah.
called
Any
The
book you
Backlog
have to sell,
Lumberjack.
I'm interested.
Yeah,
by
I
the
think
way.
pretty much anything that
Yeah.
you got there,
He's
Kalpesh.
got me. Yeah.
We'll buy it.
Right.
So yeah, so I was in and I asked that question, and they all looked at each other and said, like, "No, we have no idea what the sprint goal is." And then I said, "Well, okay. Well, how about that? Tell me, fine, if I said that you will finish all the stories that you have committed for, what's the confidence level, right?" Well, okay, we can talk to that a little bit, and they kind of like, okay, I said, like, just pick a number from 0 to 5, but don't yell out yet,
Right.
So everybody picked up their own confidence level number. I said, well, okay, like, show of hands, show me, right? And we saw varying degrees, right? We saw everything from 2 through 5,
Okay.
right? Any idea who would have had the
Wait. This is of completing their task.
the stories?
The
that they
story.
committed
The stories.
So what is the
But
story?
Isn't that a,
The
but isn't
story.
that a road? But aren't they roadblocks if the numbers are too low? Like if
So-
they don't think they.
So
Oh,
exactly,
okay.
right? So
Oh,
that
I'm
was the point of so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I'm saying it's a hack over here, right?
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm making them think a little bit
Oh,
differently, right?
But
And-
pull back for just a second. So you're talking about we have to assume not all of our listeners know. So when you talk about a story or a sprint, what are the basic components there that we're talking through?
Correct, right. So sprint is basically a 2-week time box.
2-week
right?
time box.
Yeah.
For which they have kind of committed to, like, okay, in this 2 weeks, this is what we will finish.
Right.
Right.
And user story is basically the smallest unit of value that they can deliver at the end of the sprint or the end of the 2 weeks.
Okay.
Right. So they've kind of committed together, saying that yes, we can. At the beginning of the 2 weeks, they all got together, did something called a sprint planning, and they said, okay, we can. This is what we can sign up for. These stories or these value items we can work on and get it done by the end of the sprint.
Is a sprint just going to have one user story, or are there
Oh,
multiple user
multiple
stories?
user stories.
Multiple user
on
stories.
On an average, you will
one
see multiple
sprint.
user stories. One
Of course.
sprint. Yeah. If you have one sprint for the one story for the entire sprint, that sounds like trouble.
And is there anything above a story, or?
Yeah, I think there would be a feature, and then above feature, you could have either something called as an epic or a minimum marketable feature or an MVP, minimum viable product. There are multiple ways. Different teams follow different kind of an approach.
Right.
So basically, I asked the question. So they said, "Oh, okay. So any idea who would have had the higher confidence?"
I
and
bet
who
I
would
know
have-
who has the highest
and
confidence.
who has the lower confidence. All right, go for it.
The highest confidence is with the Scrum Master, and the lowest is with the Scrum team.
Right, and you know what? So that's very good. That's a very good thought. I said I excluded the product owner and the Scrum Master from that.
Oh,
confidence
okay.
as well.
All right. Well,
Okay.
now I'm
So
lost.
I improvised.
Yeah.
I improvised. So I learned quickly, and I improvised over there. And what was interesting to see, the engineers usually had the higher confidence
Oh,
vote,
okay.
and the testers had a very low confidence vote.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, maybe that's why they're testers.
And the funny part was, the engineer said, you know what? These are the tasks that I am supposed to work on, and I'll be done at the end of the 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Engineers are
But-
very confident.
the developers,
That's why
and the
they're
coders,
engineers,
yes.
right?
And that's a good thing.
And testers are like, I'm going to break this.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
right.
that's what the testers said. Well, look, you're going to be done on the last day or 2 days before the sprint ends. You're going to toss it over to me, and then basically I'm scrambling at the end of this
Right.
sprint, and I'm trying to find defects, finish all this stuff, and defects are going to come out, and then we won't be done in time, and that's going to be sent over to the next sprint,
Right. Right.
right? So I have no faith that we're going to be done.
Yeah.
Right? So this was very interesting to see, right? A lot of all the team members were though they're a team, they were looking at a very individualistic approach. They're like, okay, I'll be done with my stuff.
Right. Right.
Even though we are a Scrum team, even though we are in it to win it, right? We're together. Can you imagine if Cavaliers were playing and LeBron said, my part is to take the ball till there. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish it, but I really don't care what everybody else is doing, right?
Yeah.
It's a team sport.
I think
where
that's
we
more
all
more
come
Kyrie
together.
Irving that you're describing there.
There's no me in
You know?
Scrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. There is, exactly. There's
Yeah.
no me Scrum. Exactly.
There's no me in Scrum.
Yeah.
There is no me in Scrum. So that was very interesting, and everybody then quickly realized, like, oh wow, like and then we aggregated the confidence level, and it was kind of coming out to like we are probably at a confidence level of 3,
Yeah.
right? And then team were like, well, okay, now what? Now what we do, right? So then I basically said, well, okay, well, how about this? You guys are at 3 right now. What should you guys do today to go to a level 5 tomorrow, a confidence level of 5? What change will you do in your today's work
Right.
that you can get to tomorrow 5?
What did they come up
Right?
with?
And they kind of brainstormed a little bit over there, and they kind of, as I say, they quickly retrospected right there and said, okay, well, they shifted some of their work and said, well, fine, look, these few things that I was working on is pretty close to being done. I'll make that a higher priority today. And how about this? By noon, if not noon, by end of the day today, I'll actually hand it over to the testers to get started with, right? And then I'll work on the next item,
Oh,
right?
okay.
One of them was actually stuck on some of the technical elements. I said, well, okay, you know what? I had something else planned, but I'll actually help you out over here and get you unstuck so you can finish it. And by the end of the day, you can hand it over to testers so they can start testing, and then we can move on to the next item, right? So
Right.
they quickly started to retrospect over there, and they say, okay, this is how we're gonna help it out. And I think if you do these things, I think we can be back on track for a 4 level confidence tomorrow.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
And I think for me that was magical. I think because that was the whole purpose of a daily stand-up.
Yeah.
It wasn't just giving updates. It was about what will we do today to win tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Kalpesh, where does somebody find you if they're interested in learning more about hacking the stand-up or dressing more like a backlog lumberjack?
So that's a very interesting question you asked that. And since I've started presenting this technique, I think it was originally presented in...
Did you came up with this when you were working on a team?
Yes, I was working on a team.
And people were were receptive to it?
Oh, absolutely, they were. They
That's
were,
amazing.
right?
Wow.
Because it was very interesting, right? So here's why they were receptive to this, right? If you ask an engineer, right? So right now, when you want to get a status of your sprint, how is the sprint progressing? You look at the burn down chart,
Yeah.
right? Burn down chart is a graph that basically tells you how the work is burning down, right? But for that to happen, your team has to enter hours, right? Their task
Yes.
updates in a tool,
Right.
whatever you may use, Rally, Jira, version
Jira,
1, right?
right.
TFS, all that fun stuff,
Right.
right? Let me tell you one thing. It's easier to steal a meal from a lion's mouth than to actually have your engineers update tasks
Yes.
in Jira.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you worked with any teams, let me
Right.
tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can, yes, I can do a comparison, right?
Right.
So this was a very non-frictional, low-key way of quickly knowing where are we really heading, right? And engineers loved it because, look, it takes the boring stuff, the tedious stuff out, and I can quickly show confidence.
Yeah.
Right? So it was and that's why I call it a hack. It was a hack. So since I've introduced this technique, and I think in 2016 I introduced it at Global Scrum Gathering in Orlando, almost 1,300 plus teams have actually tried this technique.
Wow.
Right, and how am I tracking that, or how do I know that? Because there was so much. People want to know more and try
People
this
should
out.
give you $10 every time they do this.
Yeah.
No.
Figure out a way to
Look,
come
I'm
out
here to make teams better. So no, I'm not in that business. So what I did was I created a website, and it's very simple. It's called standuppoker.com.
Okay.
Wow,
Right?
okay.
And
So
we'll put that on the page for
Yeah,
listeners.
and people can go to standuppoker.com and they can learn the technique. They can download the poker cards from there. It's a PDF file, right? And that's how I knew, there were so many people that were kind of downloading and trying it out and
Right.
and asking for. I also have the PowerPoint presentation that I make of this technique available on the website. So if you want to do this exercise as a part of Lunch and Learn, or your your local meetup, or your Agile day at your company or your organization, you can download the presentation from there, download the PDF cards from
that's
there, and
great.
you can try it with your teams.
And,
right?
and did you do this? Is that what you're doing? Are you training a coach or?
Yes, I'm a coach and I'm a trainer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You work for a company or you work for yourself?
Yes, so I work for a company called Intra Edge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we are a staffing and consulting organization based off of Chandler, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we are located all across the globe. We have presence in East Coast, New York. We have presence in Canada, India. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. It's been fantastic. Amazing story.
Kalpesh, thank you.
Yeah.
And if you want to know more about what's on my mind, I am tinkering a lot in the area of product management and design thinking. So you can know my thoughts on my LinkedIn. You can connect to me via LinkedIn. Just search for Kalpesh Shah. And then you can also connect with me on Twitter. It's Agile Brightspot.
Oh, I love it.
So you can know my thoughts over there as well.
Well, there's going to be two. You can have two connections coming out to you soon.
At least.
From the side
Hey,
of
I'm
Mike.
looking forward to connect with you guys.
That's
Thank
both
you very
our listeners and Brian and James here. So maybe four.
And hopefully one of these days I might see you guys like posting a picture with a lumberjack.
That's right.
Right. Yes.
We'll go out to
Costume on,
Williamsburg
right?
to get that one. Let's get some beard action going.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Enjoy
Thank you,
the rest
Kalpesh.
of Scrum.
Hey, thank
Big
you
Apple Scrum
guys.
Day.
Thank you, Brian and James. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Everybody, keep listening.
We're still going.
We're still going.
All
Yep.
right.
Enjoy.
Scope of Success is brought to you by PMI Long Island, the Project Management Institute of Long Island. For more information, visit pmilic.org.